Welcome to Books and More. I'm delighted to have author Sharon Garcia on. Sharon, how are you?
I'm doing very good, Will. Thanks for having me on the show.
Awesome. And you've got a nice, well-rounded career as a writer, and we're going to dive into that specifically. But before we do, why don't you give us a little background about yourself?
Okay, well, I run my own company, Thoughts with Sharon. I do consulting and life coaching and content creation. And I've always kind of written in the background in the more of the private realm, but then I started publishing my books a few years ago. So now I have three published books currently.
Awesome. What are the three books?
So the first book is it's a poetry book. It's poetry of despair, love, spirituality, and prophecy. And this one I I started because I was in a very dark period in my life. I was definitely going through a human condition we all face at one time or another, kind of crushed by love, and I had a lot of emotions that I needed to make sense of. So I started writing poetry, and all my poems kind of deal with, the darker aspects of life, but I always like to put a positive um, s- uh, s- slant on it. And so I decided with that one being the first one that I would publish it because I know that there are people out there that are also kind of struggling in life from time to time. And so my hope was that somebody would read my poems and feel like they're not so alone in the world and hopefully give them a little bit of encouragement to keep going and trying to turn pain into a catalyst for self-growth and transformation. And so after I published that book, it definitely opened up the door for more books. So my second book is Homeschool Unleashed: How to Start, Plan, and Thrive in Your Homeschool Journey. And this is so I've been homeschooling my own kids, and what I did is I created my own blueprint for homeschooling that utilizes all of the technology that we have. So when I went to college, I did online school at Oregon State University, which was so transformative in my own life that I was able to incorporate a lot of that learning into how I teach my own kids, and I've just seen them thrive so much. So I wanted to help other parents. I know homeschooling is definitely something that's been on the up and up lately. And so I wanted to help encourage other parents on their journey. So that book, that's what that one's all about, how I got to homeschooling and how I uh, organize it. And then my latest book I actually just published this week, so it's brand new. I actually, this is the first time I'm even announcing it. So this one is Keep Heartbreak from Breaking You, Forge a New Future from a Broken Past. And in this book, I'm really trying to help people transition from, broken relationships and use it as a way to transform yourself. Uh, and I think especially as a writer, we tend to feel emotions very deeply. So heartbreak is unfortunately something I've had quite a bit of experience with. So I was able to, in my own life, create um, a plan for how to get over it. And each one I've used to transform myself. And instead of allowing, hard times to crush me, I use it as a catalyst for becoming stronger, wiser, and elevate myself higher. So that book is definitely a guide on helping other people also obtain transformation and hopefully encourage them during those times. So that's currently what I have at the moment.
Well, that's quite a list you've got, and congratulations on the recent publication.
Thank you.
What is your process for writing? Do you do it in the morning, in the evening? Do you like the beach or the couch or tea or coffee? What tell us about your routine and process for writing?
Okay. So I tend to, well, I work out in the morning to get my mind right. And then I like to dedicate my weekends to writing specifically because it allows me not to be so focused on work and I have the time to do my writing. So I leave my house and before I had an office, I would go to the bookstore and write, in a cafe or in the cafe at the bookstore. But now I have an office, so I'm able to go to my office and sit there and just focus in. So it's usually about yeah, after lunch for 3 or 4 hours at a time.
Awesome. And what lessons have you learned about writing? How has it differed from what you thought it would be? And what's that journey been like for you?
Well, yes, writing actually is it's an amazing process. So much of our lives we're living in our conscious mind, and you're one way when you're speaking and out in the world doing things, but I find when I'm writing, it really allows me the opportunity to dive into my subconscious mind, which there's so much going on down there. So every time I'm writing, I learn more about myself, who I am, what makes me tick in a sense. So for me, it's very exploratory and it's almost like, like the universe is speaking through me. It's almost surreal. It's Yeah, because a lot of the time when I go to sit down and write, I never really know where I'm going to take it to. I sit down, I get my pen, and I just start writing, especially if it's like poetry. Um, that my poems even, you know, um, they even surprise me sometimes that I do that. But and I would say also when I'm writing privately for people, I tend to really get to explore that subconscious level. It's a little bit different when I'm doing a self-help book because it's structured. I know what each chapter is going to be about, and it's more of like an essay type thing. But yeah, the experience of writing definitely allows me that opportunity to just dive deeper.
That's great. And what does the future hold for you as a writer? You have any next books that you have your eye on or things that you want to experiment with?
Definitely. Oh, I got a long list actually. So lately, I've been trying to expand my business to life coaching. So I have on my itinerary different aspects of that I want to do for self-help books. But then I also have probably more poetry that I'll want to focus on a little bit. It kind of ties in with my YouTube channel, Thoughts with Sharon, where I take my poetry and I put it alongside video to kind of make it really come alive for people. And then I have some stories that I would like to venture into. That's something on my to-do list. I feel like I need to get a little bit more experience there because you definitely you really need to immerse yourself into an entire world. Uh, it's definitely and it'll be the next level up, I think, when I'm ready for that. Hopefully, maybe I'll try next year sometime.
Awesome. And what authors and books have really impacted you?
Oh, that's a that's a heavy question. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm an avid reader. I am just, I mean, my room even, I'm surrounded by books everywhere. So I can't really say I hate playing favorites. I know like the types of books that I read are all over the place. I mean, my background is history because I'm a history major, but I also like to dive into the sciences, physics, philosophy books, um, the self-help books, I'm really all over the board. There's always, I think I have probably 30 books I'm reading at a time. I kind of read so much that I can't even watch television anymore because the people on TV, they, the way that they're talking is just so slow. Whereas when I'm reading a book, I can kind of scan through, flip through. It's a faster process for me. So,
Yeah, that makes sense, and I totally understand how that would be the case. Well, we've got a few more minutes. This has been great and really interesting to hear about what's behind your writing. Um, where can listeners find more about you and your books and take this interview and get their hands on what you've produced?
yes, so my books are listed on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. I have my website is Thoughts with Sharon. And on my website, I have both my business, but I also have a page dedicated to my books where you can see them all listed there. And then as far as social media goes, I definitely recommend checking out my YouTube channel, which is at Thoughts with Sharon. And on my YouTube channel, I'll have my poetry, I'll have my different books that I'm advertising, also have some meditations that I do, and definitely different artistic things. And then my Instagram channel too, you could check out. That's underscore Sharon dot Garcia underscore.
Wonderful. And before we adjourn, any advice for young aspiring authors in your genre who are trying to get going?
Definitely. It can be a little intimidating. It's a very loud world, and sometimes, you might just feel like your voice isn't being heard. But my encouragement is just to experiment, go out there and just dedicate some time to writing and start sharing it, through different channels, through publications, through social media, and eventually the right people will find you, and it's definitely a work in progress. But if anything, you write for yourself, and the added benefit is you might help some people along the way.
Great advice. Thank you. Congratulations on your success and your new book.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure, Will.